We're now on to the final panel of the day, which is a stormer, a real stormer. It's going back now to the digital side, so probably evaluating, summarizing the whole day, and talking a lot about how or what is the progress on the downstream digital journey. We sort of are looking a lot about what I mentioned at the beginning of the day about APM and asset performance management, which is a critical part of what needs to be addressed within the sector as well. It's moderated by the extremely charismatic Adam Brown, Senior Counsel even, IP for ExxonMobil. So over to you, Adam.
Thank you, Adam. I appreciate it. Very excited to be here and moderating this panel. We've got some excellent experts and hopefully, talking about the progress of the downstream digital journey, we can really get to some of the key questions and have, a really exciting conversation here with some of these experts in this area. I think we've heard some of the things about how the upstream is impacted by digital, but the downstream really brings together a lot of those things to create products. And my background is as a senior counsel so from the legal perspective, so I don't get involved as much with the data and the data management, but how well you manage your data and how well you do these journeys can impact things like regulations and adoption, and can have a pretty big impact from that perspective. So introduce the panel so that we can get going and have a good conversation. We've got Sadik Noman, who's the IT program manager for Mid-Africa IT leadership team of Chevron. Zeeshan Rasheed, procurement director, global engineering, brownfields projects and new energy startup at BP. Shan Ko, senior architect with Dow Chemical. And Fawaz Sahan, senior engineering consultant, IIoT, that's Industrial Internet of Things. I guess everybody should know that, but leader, chairman of Instrumentation Standards Committee at Saudi Aramco. So if we can bring the panel on, we can get into some of our topics today. And hopefully, like I said, really get you guys keyed in on a few of the key things that are driving the transition here, and maybe even slowing it down. So why don't we start with you, Shan, real quick, and then we'll just go around, give us a quick intro on the topics or on the panel topic in general, and then we'll pass it from there.
All right, thanks for having me. I am excited to be here. I'm Shan Ko. I'm with Dow Chemical. I'm a senior architect. I focus on manufacturing data and analytics, looking to bring digital solutions to improve our operations. So I'm happy to talk about the topics today.
Go ahead, Sadik.
Hello, everyone. My name is Noman. I'm the IT program manager for Chevron. I've been in this industry for about 19 years. I oversee the implementation of key digital projects and spanning multiple countries. And I'm passionate about digital technologies. I try to share my insights in the panels, and also would like to learn from my fellow colleagues. It's an honor for me to be here in this panel. I look forward to a productive discussion. Thank you.
Awesome. And Zeeshan, and then Fawaz. We'll kick it off.
Hi, everybody. My name is Zeeshan Rasheed. I'm the director for projects, brownfield projects, engineering, and low carbon energy operations at BP. I'm here to talk about how we can actually enable digital to kind of drive performance and address some of the key areas of our improvements in refining business. And I'm excited to be part of this panel and contribute through my fellow colleagues today. So thank you.
Yeah. Great to have you. Fawaz, go ahead and then we'll get it kicked off.
Assalamu alaikum and hello everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be part of this panel. My name is Fawaz Sahan. My specialty is instrumentation, automation and digitalization in Saudi Aramco. I'm the chairman of Saudi Aramco Standards Committee a voting member of multiple technical committees in ISO, NAMUR, UL, and SASO within Saudi Arabia. Currently, I'm leading the IoT program, which I'll be addressing even throughout this panel to add some value probably to the audience. I have 26 years of experience. Again, pleasure to be part of this panel.
Great. And Fawaz, why don't you kick us off with the transition of the data into sort of actionable formats? How can we manage and use the integration of real-time data to implement it in our actual operations? So why don't you kick us off with that, and then we'll go to the rest of the panel.
Thank you, Adam. I believe we need first to start talking about the data and the connectivity, maybe before we go to the last step. As we are aware, there are already an existing data infrastructure within our downstream facilities. Talking about, for example, the wired one, the utilizing hard data, and also the wireless hard, the wireless ISA. Then we moved into foundation field bus and remote IOs. All of these, considered wired conventional means of transferring data. Then we moved into what's called the evolving technology, and here where IoT roles comes into picture. We have what's called wired. Let's say in the field of IoT, we have Ethernet APL. That's one, and we do have the wireless one, which covers multiple connectivity options like LP1, LoRaWAN. I would, in my opinion, on top of them, and along with 4G, 5G, and even satellite. All of these evolving technologies provide more data and speedy way, I would say, to get data from the field. When we talk about the main role of this IoT and the data collected, what we have seen again that we can utilize these technologies, data, in enhancing safety, environment again, asset reliability, energy optimization, optimizing the operation and maintenance tasks, daily tasks and routine tasks. We were able even to address some challenges in the field, like aging equipment, obsolescence as well. So just an example for, valve performance monitoring. Now with the IoT technologies, it's so easy, fast also to deploy a solution and have full monitoring of the valve performance, remote well monitoring, especially the ones which are unequipped with enough instrumentation and sensors, remote equipment monitoring, talking about vibration, pressure, and temperature, and other parameters, emission and leak monitoring as well. After we get the data, of course, it will give an insight, but to build on it, we move to the next step, which is again AI and machine learning, where we have already deployed some IoT devices with built-in AI capabilities. Again, giving more insight about the equipment and the operation inside the facility. We went even to the cloud-based as a quick means to deploy IoT and get right away data and on top of the cloud to build these AI models. This is basically how we transferred the data, how evolving technologies, specifically the IoT, made what we already have more meaningful and also speed up the deployment, and the monitoring of any equipment we have in the field.
Yeah, so that's good stuff, Fawaz. I do have a question. What if this stuff is so great, why haven't we seen more of it? Are there some sort of barriers or roadblocks to further or greater adoption of these things? Maybe you could address that real quick, and then we can hear from Zeeshan or one of the other panelists on that.
Just to share with you my own experience. When we started the IoT program, when we look at the barriers, it was somehow saying you cannot do it. It's not allowed. It's not possible. Cybersecurity, connectivity, you don't have the infrastructure. But after actually starting, the actual work, the actual evaluation, getting everybody on board. The support from management was really a key, because nothing is free, as we all know. And second, getting the engagement from the cybersecurity team, the IT group within the facility. All of these, or within the organization, looking at the bigger picture. If they don't all work together, you will never move forward. It was very clear, very obvious when we initially started the whole IoT program.
So cybersecurity team is a key stakeholder in that. Okay. Zeeshan, any specific comments that you want to make here?
Yeah, I think Fawaz really well in that space. Before I go to the data itself, I'll probably take a step back and reinforce the importance of data for purpose rather than data for the sake of data. And I see this every day in our organizations that people are probably tired to see a number of new initiatives coming in. We have to be very conscious that when we look at the blueprint of the refining business across the world, there are a lot of refineries that are quite old, and you can do a lot of data, you can do a lot of digitization, but you have to be very mindful of some of the mindset shifts we have to bring in this industry. We also have to look at digitization for data generation and transformation into meaningful actions on a value case basis, and to have a broader view around why we need to do that, and convince a broad range of people who have been working into the industry for a long period of time, and it has to be determined by its value. We also have to train people and not just the mindset shift. But going back to my point, why we need data. In my simple world, the data is required for performance, and performance are operating assets, process safety, driving performance from managing security, which priority, driving the cost and competitiveness, and most importantly, making sure that we are managing the risks in a real-time environment. Those are some of the drivers when we talk about turning the data into an actionable format. These are the outputs we need to achieve when we build the database, and that's what we need data for. If I take a step back and look at where the industry has been in the last 15 years, I think it's fair to say, and we can all feel proud about it, that our digitization through DCS installation has helped us significantly to understand how the process and process safety is kind of being managed. We are the data that comes from DCS to drive the safety and process safety. We use a lot of it to understand where we have pain points in our system, and we can take actions to do that. The next step beyond the DCS in the current world is to see how can we optimize the sustainability and decarbonization of that into our assets. What that means is that we generate a lot of heat and energy to run the process, and generate a lot of energy as a result of it. How do we make sure that we have systems that measures the input and output of our feedstocks through the management of heat, and we optimize our system? So that's another data point that we need to have, and we're working actively and effectively, because it certainly helps our whole decarbonization chain for that. We also need to understand data to understand what are we spending with our suppliers and how are we performing against it. What we all have to keep in mind, we get too much bogged down in what we do has a significant factor of supply in delivering our performance, and we need to have data for that, and we need to make sure that needs to improve their performance, or where they have something for us from them, that gets into a kind of format and actionable plans as well. The last thing I would say, to build on Fawaz's point, we have got DC, then we have got just looking at the virtualizations. Virtualizations will help us to get to autonomous operations. In some cases, I'm a very pragmatic person, so I would not use the word autonomous operations across the board in a very loose manner. There will be remote operations for opportunities, one leap at a time, to make sure that we are doing it in the right way, and we are making sure that the safety and the cybersecurity hand in glove is being protected and maintained as part of the process. So just to bring closure to what I said, understanding the performance outputs that we want to drive through data is first step. Making sure that we have a compelling case for our stakeholders across sites and our suppliers to understand why are we doing it, how we are doing it, and what are we doing it. And I think that will kind of help us to kind of get to where we need to get. But there's a huge opportunity in that space.
Yeah, thanks, Zeeshan. So, taking up on that, Sean Penn, I wanted to hear what you thought about those comments and where you think maybe some barriers are, and get some thoughts on that.
I love what Zeeshan talked about. I think you gotta always remember the value case or business value you're bringing with the solution. We have a lot of data out there. I lost track of how many terabytes we generate a day, but we generate vast amount of data. It's not about putting it in a data platform. It's not about like I'm putting this in the cloud and then therefore I'm getting value. It's about what you're going to do with what is problems are you trying to solve with it, and you got to sort of understand what the outcome is. Very often, that's where we get stuck. It's just why it's hard to rally people to go together, because once you have the value case clear, people can align to it. That's when you start breaking down some of those barriers, and the one I just talked about is like the business barriers. How do you get the funding? How do you get the alignment on the value case? Making sure people are on board on that. Then the second part of it is the technical side of things. There will be technical challenges. In this digital age, we have so many competing solutions. So it's Azure has it, Google has it. A lot of vendors will have very competing solutions. So how do you pick the one that you want to go use? That is something that you want to make sure that's within your strategy. Because the last thing you want to do is have solutions in multiple places that you need expertise to understand the nuances. And there will be nuances of how these systems work differently, and perhaps something leads into things like we discussed, standards, why standards are important, how we do the interconnection between the systems, and last thing I'll bring about technical side of things. In these days, again, many ways of doing it, and when you have two experts, they will have two different opinions of how the work should be done. So it goes back to rallying back on what's the business outcome that we want to achieve, and then focusing on that piece there.
Okay. And then Sadik, just sort of on the topic, give us your thoughts, reflecting anything that the prior panelists have said.
Just to add to that, actually, I think the leadership buy-in is so important, because unless you have support from the leadership, your digitalization journey will never succeed. So we need to educate our leaders on the technologies and focus on highlight the values it can bring to the business. And then, the new solution costs you some money. So your digitalization strategy should align with the broader business strategy. If I'm a small company, I cannot afford to do a lot of things. I will do whatever I need to do in order to increase productivity, profitability for my business, and this goes with everything actually. So data, people talk about data, but very few people actually understand the true value of data or realize the true value of data. So the data quality is a very, very important thing here. You may have you may have the world's best technology, but if your data quality is poor, then there is no use of that technology, because all the outcomes, all the decisions won't be correct. So we need to focus on on the quality of the data, and we need to actually establish data governance, establish all those rules um, to validate the data, and if there are any um, inconsistencies in the data, then we can address those immediately to ensure we have a better outcome from the tools we use. This is one thing I just wanted to highlight in addition to what my other panelists have said.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks very much, Sadik. So one thing I think I think the perspective here is very good, but I will note that I work at a major integrated oil and gas company, um, and then our panelists for the most part do as well, with Chevron and BP and Saudi Aramco, and then Dow Chemicals is a little bit particular on the chemical side, but is still a very large company. I guess my question for the panel, and we're kind of going reverse order, so Sadiq and then Shan and then Zeeshan and then Fawaz, is what can a vendor or a smaller digital company do to sort of help solve a problem for one of our large integrated organizations? Is there anything that a particular vendor or that a vendor could do that's maybe a smaller company, maybe it's just getting started, maybe somebody peels off of a bigger company? What's kind of either a missing piece or a valuable piece, and you can tie into that if you want a comment about a particular technology that might help enable it, whether it's something like a digital twins, generative AI, blockchain, cloud computing, whatever things you think might be either helpful or not helpful in that regard. So I'll just leave it open for you guys, but that's really the question, is to get to what can a smaller company do that one of our bigger companies might want to engage to sort of help us bridge one of these gaps. So go ahead with that, Sadiq, and then we'll go through.
Well, that's a good question actually, because the big oil companies usually they partner with big companies when it comes to vendors because of the credibility issue. So, but there are a lot of small companies and they're doing a lot of good job. So one thing they can do, um, they can actually get in touch with the leaders of big companies and share the use cases, share their success stories, highlight what value their solutions or technologies can add to their business. And if they get buy-in from the leaders and the people who will actually use those technologies, and who will actually will benefit from its uses, they should get involved in the process. This is very, very important. And then they should highlight some features that maybe many of their competitors are not able to offer um, at a cost they can offer the solution. So this is one of the strategies they can definitely take. This is one of the approach they should take. And then they should gather the business requirements from the companies they want to offer solutions or they want to partner with, because um, you know I will buy a solution, I will partner with a vendor only if I need that solution to address the problems or challenges I'm facing. So this is important. I mean, it should be customer centric. Um, I have the best product, but there are no customers. In that case, there is no value for my product actually. So it has to be aligned with the customer needs, and they should. I think the big companies care about two things: the cybersecurity um, is a key topic nowadays, and data privacy is also another important topic, and also they want to ensure that new technology or the new solution ensures compliance with the regulations. So those are some of the key things. The small vendors or the companies should keep in mind as they offer new innovative solutions to big companies.
Great. Okay. So picking up on that, Champin, anything that you wanted to sort of pick up on, and I'll add to the question, which is, I think we've discussed and agreed that standardization is one of the barriers, and so just because Saudi Aramco or Dow or BP or Chevron or ExxonMobil does something and it works for them, there is sort of a question of whether standards will require either a different format for the data or some other tool or something like that. But what can smaller companies do in your mind to help? And I guess I'm going to go to Zeeshan next, and he's a procurement manager, so he probably has a lot of experience with some smaller companies trying to get the business of BP. But why don't you take it from there, Champin, and let us know what your thoughts on that question.
Sure. First, I want to start off with like Sadik brought up the data quality topic. That is definitely one that a lot of folks, I suspect, going into AI are thinking AI will sort of clean my data for me, or put it in the cloud, the data will clean itself. That's not going to happen. That still takes a lot of AI is going to spit out a lot of that information really quickly if you take that approach. The same data governance is needed to sort of clean the data for AI to work well. So why are standards important? This is like I think the problem the standards are solving is it's allowing us to communicate in a similar language. We can the good examples would be like ISA 95, ISA 88, OPC. Those have been good for us to, one, from the technical perspective or even from the business perspective, able to communicate what we're talking about to each other. So going from one company to another, we have a way to sort of communicate. We definitely need a lot more standards out there, but then it's a balance of what is available, and then sort of you still have to sort of solve the business problem of the day. So it's a balance of getting using what's available, making sure you know what's available, and then sort of taking advantage of the ones that are available and moving with those. These data standards is important. The other part I would say not often talked about is how we organize that data. Think about, like, if you had to go cook, do you buy one ingredient at a time? Do you go and pick one thing at a time? You can't do that. It's very inefficient. So what about organizing your data like as you want to go do the work? Put everything together in a way that you can easily find it. You know where it's in the pantry, it's in the basement, etc. Or you need to go pick something. So that same thing with any journey that we're going to go into. We want to organize that data. That to organize that data, you need to follow a particular standard to know what information you need, so that you can have a structured way of getting there. So those are just, it's not gonna, those are accelerators. They just help you get there faster.
All right, great. So Zeeshan, what can you add to the topic on that, or the discussion on that topic?
Yeah, I think Adam, I would agree with some of the words which have been made. What we're seeing is there's a lot of specialist suppliers that are coming into that space, providing certain offers. I mean, when it comes to collecting the data and when it comes to kind of turning this into a meaningful results, I mean, we've seen if you keep the big DCS suppliers and the autonomous operation suppliers to it, and you really look at something really basic. So a lot of specialized suppliers who are able to kind of go and access some of the tanks, some of the vessels with some of the strategies, with the use of things like laser scanning, things like photogrammetry, significantly helps you provide some data points to actually assess the health of the systems, plant equipments, and all that. What it does, it actually helps you to translate that into the platforms. Now, I understand a lot of specialist suppliers are coming in and doing a lot of work in and providing the data platforms, but the challenge is, and I know this is one of your panel today, is to integrate all those platforms. And one of the things we're trying to make sure is how do we standardize the data that we are getting from the different suppliers who are coming up with different set of technologies into a unanimous platform, which is a journey, because if you look at the ad of refining assets across the world, that's pretty significant. It's over a lot of systems and platforms that are already there, and there's a desire to bring them together to have a better, I would say, control on what and how we want to see the output. And so there's a lot of specialty services we are getting. And on that widely and well look across your feedstock chain across systems. And that's a very interesting science. I would say it's not a rocket science, but it's a very interesting science, because what it does is you to optimize your heat, optimize your emissions eventually across the process, and that out of the system. And we're trying to make sure that we integrate that data into a platform which actually allows us to measure all of this in one go. The industry right now is that we've got all these things that are interesting: cybersecurity, the performance of individuals on phishing tasks, kind of making sure that they're not transferring the company data on their personal emails and all that. We're looking at the cyber attacks that are coming on our firewalls every day from different parts of the world. And then we've got the safety and all that. All of the data is coming from sources, and at the end of the day, that is coming in support of delivering your business in a safe, reliable, and competitive manner. And suppliers play a massive role, as you said, into that space. And there are different suppliers that are coming into that space and playing that role. So the challenge in that space is how do we integrate that, if not saying limited platforms, and how do we make sure that we simplify the inputs that are coming from the plant through different sources of suppliers, and use that in an effective way across the organization. Yes, I understand there are different teams working on that, process and process safety and sustainability. We have cybersecurity team looking at that data, but at the end of the day, for crisis management and from business perspective, you need your plant leadership to be aware of all of that, and I think that's where we have trying to get through with our suppliers and supply chain through a more integrated and cohesive output response.
Okay, great. Fawaz, what do you have to add to the discussion on that point?
I will share, maybe to add to what the panelists highlighted, I will share specific examples where we had, as an end user versus the technology suppliers, we had differences. So I'll give, real examples throughout the IoT program journey. Starting with the cloud, every IoT supplier comes with his own cloud, let's say, partner. So we said, no, we have to dictate which cloud to be utilized for our IoT solution, or we need you as an IoT technology supplier to develop for us an on-premise cloud. It was not a smooth discussion, but it really landed where we both agreed that this is the need for us, as an end user. So if you do not deliver as a technology supplier, there will be a difficulty to continue on this journey. Another example on the connectivity. Every IoT supplier comes with his own option. So we had to align, again, the connectivity options for the infrastructure, for the cost, for operation. So we work really very closely hand in hand. And it was really landed eventually into what served us as an end user. And also, it was also a win for the technology supplier. The sensors installation, there could be the same sensor manufactured by different technology suppliers, but the way you install it, some really went to the extreme, make it very difficult really to do it in the field. So we by sharing and discussing, so there was a room even for new IPs, a new development in that sector. We did also ask for every sensor manufacturer on IoT supplier to give us the end-to-end solution. So I don't want a sensor, I don't want a gateway, I want the whole thing. Platform also, we mandate that we have one platform for the whole solutions, be it coming from you as an X technology supplier or from someone else. The last one was really the data that these sensors are providing. So we keep giving let's say sharing information and recommendation to these IoT sensors manufacturers or technology suppliers, saying what extra data we need, what raw data we need from the sensor, not just the reading. We need 1, 2, 3. So it will help our, let's say, experts in rotating equipment, for example, to better analyze the condition of the equipment and the asset. So in a nutshell, it was a very rich discussion, and it truly takes some time, but it landed where it was a win-win for both of us, the end user and the technology suppliers.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Anything? Any of the other panelists want to pick up on, that Fawaz is noted or anything? Respond to that.
I just want to add one thing. You know, um, digital transformation or digitalization cost you some money, and so leaders always challenge it, and every single penny matters. So companies who are trying to transform their business, leveraging all the cutting edge technologies, can take one approach. I believe they do. So do not invest a lot of money um, if you're not sure, um, you know, um, what you are going to achieve in the long run. If you cannot quantify the return on investment initially, so rather you can do a pilot project and then get some feedback from the users and try to validate. Um, I mean, what you heard about the solution and what you are getting after you have deployed the solution, and then try to match those things. And if you see, yes, it's worth spending money to deploy this solution, then you can actually scale it. So this is this is this this is what I try to do because it's not about just deploying new technologies, launching new solutions, some fancy solution. It's actually doing what for the business. If my business doesn't need me to launch a new tool, I don't do that. But we should always look for opportunities, how we can increase the productivity, how we can avoid unwanted downtimes, and also how we can make our workforce or the workflows more effective and productive. And that actually helps you to come up with a fit for purpose strategy uh, as you you know um, as you plan for your digitalization journey. So this is actually important. So you need to have a strategic mindset and then focus on the value, and also you should carefully understand um, um, how the technology can transform the business, considering you have some constraint, for example, budget constraints. Maybe you do not have a skilled workforce, or you have some, I would not say legacy data or legacy system. If you want to launch a new technology, then you have to modernize the infrastructure. That costs a lot of money. So that's why you should always do a pilot and take a phased approach as you start, leveraging the new technologies to transform the business.
But just on that point, the potential of predictive maintenance here, I think, is something that we've alluded to a few times in terms of how we can use the data in a proper way to make sure that we sort of manage these assets, get the rotating equipment repaired. I guess specifically on the predictive maintenance point, is there anything there that sort of you wanted to talk about that help with maybe the value overall? In other words, does this change? Does predictive maintenance or any of these other digital technologies really change the operations or the overall, obviously costs up front, but really change the overall business approach for any of us? And I'll give one example as a question is, sometimes offshore operations can be automated if you're really happy with all of your data automation and other digital tools, which can somewhat change the paradigm for an offshore operation, if you have all of the connectivity, the things that Fawaz is talking about. But if you don't have the confidence and things like that, you might want to keep, those offshore remote, sites. And that's not downstream, that's more upstream. But that's just one example. Is there anything in the downstream that, that the predictive maintenance or automation really sort of helps enable almost a new or changed paradigm for the business model? And whoever wants to pick that up first is fine. I was going to go to Sean Penn, but if somebody else wants to pick it up, Sean Penn, do you mind starting with that?
I'll start it. I think predictive maintenance is a very exciting space. Definitely, it's a space where there's a lot of value to be had, but then the value also requires a lot of effort to get there. So we've been on this predictive maintenance journey for a while already. I think the part that you gotta sort of bring. Some people are very interested in the data science of how it works, but then there's also other components, traditional components like the user interfaces. How you're gonna continually address the false positives or false negatives. Those are all still things that need to be thought about in the whole journey. And so it's not just about the algorithm, but then you got to also think about the rest of that ecosystem. So, but once you get that first pilot deployment, you need a way to scale that up quickly. And I'll go back to that organizing data example I started with. Is if you organize your data, you know where the data is. It's not about cataloging. It's about how to which equipment has which instrumentation. You have a proper understanding of that. You have a proper understanding of if you have the historical data to help you build those models, then your journey can be a lot faster. Where some of those IoT comes in is it's augmenting where you don't have instrumentation. But so those are also ways that you also got to think about the instrumentation, the IoT. If those runs on battery, you probably don't want that streaming all the time. So you want to have a proper understanding of how you're going to use the instrumentation data, what the limitations are, and then the other part is how fast you want that prediction to work. So it's been a very exciting space. It's definitely one that if you got to go back to what the business value you're trying to solve, is it big enough for you to justify that effort? So pass it to the rest of the panelists.
Yep. Zeeshan, you want to pick up on that, or Fawaz?
Yes, just a quick one. I'd like to say, I think I'll start with what Sean Penn said. You look at this way. We have seen. I think a lot of people on this call must have been aware with the concept of gigs. And what I would probably say is that the biggest power of the data and the virtualization and things doing is seen how we have kind of leveraged the global workforce across the. So today, the talent has become a global commodity rather than local commodity. So you can use, if you're fabricating an equipment in Korea or somebody in India or somebody else, or if you're doing somebody working at a plant in North America, but you can use the digital twin to kind of get the work done from an engineering perspective in project or a different part of the world. That itself is the value, is part of the value equation. We're also seeing across our sites the change in the inspection philosophy. So when I did my engineering a couple of years back, and it's a long time back, by the way, action or simple way. Now you look at the whole inspection philosophies has changed, and there's a lot of virtualization and remote access and digital twin technology, which makes it ultra simple, and you don't have to go and shut down things the way back. So it's not a time inspection or maintenance. It's the risk-based inspection, which actually adds a huge value to overall productivity and efficiency and improvement to the net present. But then also you can actually look on the other side, as I said, is the benefit global workforce, and this workforce generates a very healthy competition for the company to remain competitive with their overheads, burdens, and cost, and drive the value resource perspective. The thing I would say, the world is transforming. We're seeing a huge effect. We're seeing a shortage of human skill and capability. And we have to use technology in support of where we want high-end, high-value, high-capability human resource to focus on. And I think that itself is a value case, and we need to kind of leverage talent and capability wherever it exists. It is one of the enabler part of making that happen.
Great. Anything to add to that, Fawaz?
Yeah. In my
Please go
view,
ahead.
if we want to have a proper asset performance management, a program, we need to think the big picture, throughout the life cycle, starting from the design, the human factor, the procurement, the preservation and testing, installation, the maintenance approach. We've talked about predictive. Now we're talking about prognostics, capitalizing on the AI, on the IoT capabilities and what have you. So we do have challenges, as we are aware in our industry. So obsolescence is a challenge, the manpower shortage, the aging of equipment. We need to optimize and capitalize on these technologies to address these challenges. Redefining the maintenance approach definitely is one way, capitalizing on these latest technologies.
Awesome. So just sorry, there's a little bit. Just to wrap up sort of the topic and the panel, I think we're coming close to the end of time here. And I want to make sure that we capture anybody's final thoughts based on the discussion that we've had. Just talking about how's progress going. Maybe if you can, try to quantify, whether you think we're very early, middle, late in the progress of the downstream digital journey. And I think we've heard a lot about the challenges, whether it's, things like, things like regulations and standards, maybe standards drive regulations, operational things in the groups like our cybersecurity experts, some ways in which technology can help, but, the limitations, generative AI, for example, being unable to do, some of the data, cleansing and things like that. It might be able to help in some areas, but not in others. So why don't we just kind of take it from the top, and give me where you think we are on the digital downstream journey, and give kind of closing remarks. We'll start with Zeeshan, and then we'll go. Then we'll just go. Sadik, Fawaz, and finish with Shan, if you guys are okay with that.
Yeah, I think my end reflection, Adam, is that what talk about digital it as an enabler, and we should talk about it as an enabler, not the this. Our focus is say reliable and competitive business. And to make that happen, we should see digital as an enabler. I always see this that industry is transforming, and we have to keep this in mind that we have to look at technology, but we also have to understand and make sure that we have people that have been working on certain systems for so many years, and there's a natural capability development that we need to do to make some of this happen. And we also need to realize that we all will have some facilities and plant and modernize to the extent the world has moved on, and we have to accept it. But how do we make sure that we leverage the data transition and digitization to make efficiently and effectively is a challenge I would probably like to put on all of us. We also need to make sure that we are not living in a siloed world, and we are working as an industry partners. We are sharing the information like IOGP, where we talk about a lot of things. And I think there should be something on digital we should be leveraging on our experience, because I go into a lot of these events and industry discussion. Every operator is scratching the surface with the same challenges. And I think if you in this space, we can make a big difference. And last but not the least, we try to bring suppliers as part of it. And supplier needs to understand that they don't need to come and sell everything every time when they come into these discussions. At times, you have to come into these discussions to understand the challenge and find a way to deal with that challenge, and make things competitive. Probably said this earlier. The cost of doing business is a big challenge for our industry, and the capital discipline is very important for all of us. And we need to make sure that if we are and safety, I think we can do everything on the journey of energy transition and digitization. So we just have to kind of keep the bigger picture in mind and use every enabler to make that happen.
Great. Sadik, anything to sort of close up on? Talk about?
Yeah, I'll keep it short. I see that many organizations have began using predictive analytics to minimize downtime and avoid unplanned maintenance. So that's a big win actually. But there are some challenges actually. For example, data silos, workforce readiness, and scaling technologies, cybersecurity risks, and all of us talked about high upfront costs. Once we address all those things, definitely we will see more progress in this space.
Great. Fawaz, closing comments here?
Yeah, just maybe to answer the question, are we late or are we ahead of the game? In my view, we are late. There are already technologies, at least from my perspective, based on what we have seen, tested, deployed. The IoT technology, what we spoke about, the 3D printing, which really open a new, I would say, environment of solutions that we never thought it's possible with the old conventional CNC machines, and the mobility and robotics, for inspection, like inspecting tank as a very simple, solution, or inspecting the pipeline. We've talked also about the AI machine learning, which will take some time, because you will need to go through some process to come up with the final solution, which is deployable and reap the benefit to help you moving from reactive, preventive into prognostic. But these are available solutions. We cannot deny it. It is really the time to go ahead and speed up the deployment to take the benefit, optimize the cost, and improve the reliability and the safety in our facilities.
Awesome. Shan?
I think some areas are more mature than others, and it will always come down to what foundational things you have to enable that. So in the past, if you had optimization of a process, you have the data, we probably have implemented solutions to get there. Whereas going into places where you don't have wireless or handheld devices, those are all new digital journeys that require different types of foundations that sometimes we don't have yet. So it is definitely going to be a journey that's specific to your business scenarios, where your plants operate, and then the workforce that you have. So, thank you.
Any view on whether we're sort of late in the journey, as Fawaz points out, or where we are?
I think we're in the journey because a lot of there's if you can do a proof of concept, it's very easy to get there. But the hard part is, how do you make that scale to all global operations? And that is definitely a very difficult challenge for us.
Yeah. Fair. Zeeshan, Sadik, any just sort of comment on where we are in the journey, early, middle, late?
I'll probably go first, Sadik, if you're okay with that. Journey of being late. I think Fawaz has a very legitimate challenge, and I'll pick up his example on 3D printing. I was just going through some reading material on NASA, and NASA doesn't do anything less complex than what we do in the space and all that. And if you go and see what NASA has done on 3D printing and additive manufacturing on their vessels, that is amazing and impressive. I've also had a privilege to sit in some of the conversations with my colleagues in Shell, Equinor, and some of the other companies. Industry is picking up on that. If you look at a simple pilot of 3D printing, it drives the cost down by 50%, and it drives the lead time of 60 to 70%. The company that is building up 3D printed houses. So where we are as an industry, a lot of opportunity to reflect back and say why we are not doing it. And it's mindsets awesome. that we need to address.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Sadik, anything to add before we sign off?
No, I'm not anything in particular, but as I say, that's now we see kind of widespread adoption of technologies like digital twin. So it's a buzzword. Everyone is talking about it, but hardly anyone knows a lot about it. So leaders have to set the tone and the vision, what they want to do, what they want to achieve, and how it is aligned with their business goals. And then they need to select the technologies. There are a lot of technologies, but you need to select the ones that will add value to your business. And every business is different. And the size of the companies, the size and the scale of the company, that plays a big role in decision making. But every solution has to be customer centric. For example, use of AI in downstream retail operations, such as personalized marketing and demand forecasting, is something many companies are doing. Even though I'm an upstream guy, so I don't have much details about the downstream segment of the business, but okay. So yeah, that's all I wanted to add, actually.
Very good. All right. Well, thanks a bunch. I think it's been a great panel. I appreciate all of you taking the time to talk to our folks today and tell us about the journey on the downstream digital journey. I think we've got a lot of perspectives, and if anybody has any questions, put them in the chat, and we'll do our best to address them. And it's been very, very good. Very lively discussion. The 3D printing was something that I didn't sort of have necessarily on my radars, but I'm very glad to hear about that. And so, I appreciate you bringing that up, Fawaz, and anything else. So thanks very much, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Adam. As always, irrepressible. Really, I like what Sadik said at the end about there's certain buzzwords like digital twin, but no one really knows what it does. It's a very good point, because you do come across different people, and some people know the ins and outs of how it works, but you do also speak to some people that really don't know what the capabilities are. And I think that's a really important part of, I think, this event. It is education. I think education of what this technology is. What I've learned from today is probably technology is a huge enabler for what we're trying to do, whether it's energy transition, whether it's getting more efficient, whether it's plant optimization. But people need to understand what it means to them. And I think there's a journey for the company, but I think there's a journey for the individuals working within the company, and that's sometimes overseen. My sort of running theme, I think, that I picked up today was, it's really important to just take people through the journey. And I think once you've established your workforce, your team, whoever work with you within your organization, and they buy into what it can do, that journey will be easier by default. And I think a lot of these POCs fail, whether it's for digital twin or any other sort of AI project they implement. A lot of these users, well, there's a lack, let's say, of end user empathy. And I think that's a really, really important thing to pick up, because when you are, let's say, you're told to use a new technology to make your job better, but you're not really told how and why it should make your job better, you don't want to use it. And I think there's a lot more that needs to go into that. Education, right across the board. It's from the boardroom to the oil field. It's right throughout. And I do sort of really go by what I said at the beginning, that you've got to build that digital framework with your team right across the journey. Get them working, get them understanding it, get the quick wins. I like what Shan from the Park Refinery said about how they're using gamification to actually encourage user adoption. I think that's a really, really important part of adopting technology, especially when you've got industries like Downstream that are quite technology shy. But you can see it makes a huge difference, especially when you go down the route of predictive maintenance. So I think there's a huge benefit. I think people understand the benefit, but obviously understanding how you can scale it and align those values with the values of the company. So it's not just one size fits all. It's not a sort of a shiny, great toy you can just plug and play. Understand probably what the refinery wants, what the operator wants, and then try and work within that. And that's sort of the message that I had today. So brilliant discussions, really enjoyed them. I think it was a really nice varied day, because you had some presentations, really technical ones, talking about different elements of plant optimization or hydrogen or sort of the circular economy. And we sort of mixed it up with some really strong content from some fantastic speakers. So thank you so much for all of the speakers and the moderators who attended. Brilliant job today. Thank you to all of you that attended today as well. Few takeaways I probably had. Probably one of the really good phrases that I heard was separate the asset from the data. And I think people really get obsessed with data. And I think that follows on from the conversation I had with Shane earlier today. There is this preconception that you've got to get absolutely everything in a row before you implement a digital twin or something equivalent. And it really isn't the case. And I think a lot of the people that are doing well on digital twins did not have that scenario in place. So interesting point. Flexibility in partnerships. I know that was mentioned a lot by the Sam earlier today as well. What I liked as well is how you use AI to structurally improve, Alan Gelder said, maintenance capabilities. And I think that's a really important part, just to understand what AI can do for the groundwork for a refinery as well. And really the last point I would say is continued education and empowerment. I think continuing the education throughout the organization, what they need to do, what does digital mean to them, not the company, but to them. And then you'll empower, and then you'll get a lot more user-friendly people working within the organization. That's my take on it. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you for tuning into the event. We're going to have our event schedule announced within the next week for next year. But all I can say is fantastic event. Thanks to all the speakers and partners and sponsors. Big shout out to Kongsberg Digital, who are our official digital twin partner for the event. And I really look forward to seeing you soon. Any feedback on the event, please come to me. Happy to take it on board, whatever it is. And I see you again next time.